just going to say, beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kenneth, for the reminder.
Shout again.
Before we actually physically start the meeting, as usual, we will call upon Ray Aiken to give our toast to Rotary International. I'm sure he has a wonderful club for us. Ray, would you take over and give your usual toast, please?
Yes, I'll be pleased. A different toast. This evening it's to the Rotary Club of Plymouth. I chose this last week in view of our historian speaking, but I didn't make it. So the toast is to the Rotary Club of Plymouth, where Captain James Cook left in 1770 to, among other things, discover Australia. The Rotary Club of Plymouth is 100 years old, was formed in 2020. I don't know how many members they have, but they meet on a Tuesday, and it sounds like a great club. So the toast is the Rotary Club of Plymouth, UK. Rotary
Club
of Plymouth, UK. Well, that's fantastic.
Well done.
Before we also move into our general meeting, I'd like to also welcome back some people who have been traveling. Bridget, welcome home from I'm sure what was a stressful trip to Germany. Your prayers were with us. We were thinking about you, and we're delighted that you're back with us, safe and sound, to Australia.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sure it was quite a trip. I'm sure it was quite a trip, seeing one of those trips that a child never wants to have to make. But I'm sure that just being there was a great comfort to your family. So we're very grateful to have you back. And let's see, we have an apology tonight from Warwick, who is up somewhere on the Central Coast at the wedding of his son. So he is unable to be with us tonight. So there's at least two apologies that we should be taking note of, or excuse me, not for Bridget, but for Warwick. So having said that, I have provided each one of you with an agenda for this annual general meeting. So Pete, would it be possible to flip that agenda up on the screen? And I intend this to be an interactive annual general meeting. And I mean by that, we're going to sort of review a little bit, get some things done. But more importantly, it's going to be a time where each one of us can talk about what we're doing in terms of a club. Our annual general meeting, as you know, is mandated because of our bylaws. So we have to conduct this annual general meeting. And I look at it as a wonderful opportunity to sort of benchmark where we've been the last 5 months into our Rotary year. And I just want to remind you that this Rotary year started on the 1st of July with lockdown. So, I mean, we started with a bang. And I just wanted to point out here that our AGM is mandated, little two. We have 36 members and we need 1/3 of those, which is a quorum. So I'd like to, for the secretary to note that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
15,
6, 15. Thank you. 15, which represents well over our minimum and represents a quorum. I should also say that we will be electing tonight members of our board consisting of officers and directors. We will get to that a little bit later. We will also be voting on some amended bylaws, which require a vote of 2/3 of those present. So if we have 15 members as a quorum to approve the bylaws, we need a positive vote of at least 10. Dave Columbro will be giving us a brief overview of our current financial situation. And I have asked on behalf of the Harry Lau Memorial Awards and Funds, Mark Swain, to give us a short discussion as to the state of the funds and exactly how we're going to do that. let me also say that this meeting tonight is important because there will be some things in this annual general meeting that we will be repeating year after year as we start to do things like form our DGR entity, which has been formed. We'll get to that a little bit later. The Harry Lau Memorial Awards will be specifically stated in the bylaws that it will be reported on to our annual general meeting. So there are some things that we are initiating tonight, which will be a template for AGMs in the future. Is there any comments out there that anybody wants to briefly talk about?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, could I ask through you to the previous Chairman, Richard, should we be adopting and tabling the minutes of the last AGM?
Yes, Ken. There's actually two AGMs, or that AGM and an EGM. And technically at the EGM, they should have adopted the minutes of the AGM, but they didn't. So we'll do them both tonight.
So you'd include those, Mr. Chairman, please.
That's,
yes,
point number 2 of the agenda.
Yes, thank you, Kenneth. We have established. We're now moving in. We're now moving into 2.0, which is the agenda. Item number 1, we have established a quorum of 15 members.
Right.
Number 2, Richard, would you be so kind as to just reiterate what you said to Ken so that everyone has a handle on what we're doing? And Pete, could we flip up both of those minutes side by side up on the screen so people see what we're talking about?
So I don't have the minutes. Richard, you have to share screen if that's all right.
Yeah, are they shared now? Are they coming up?
Yeah, they should be. Just a second, Richard.
Try again, Richard.
Okay, share screen.
Yeah.
They're up
There
now?
you go.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, the annual general meeting was held on the 14th of December 20, and there was some business regarding the amendment. The office bearers were elected, and then there was some business that the rules required a change. So the meeting was adjourned, and then a extraordinary general meeting was held on the 8th of February 21 to vote on the change of these bylaws, which and to elect the board members for 21-22. The change of the bylaws was withdrawn, so the bylaws stayed as originally required, as originally written, and the board members were elected for 21-22, which was present. Don't know who did the minutes, but so the board members that were elected in the previous meeting were then confirmed for 21-20 at the extraordinary general meeting. Those ones there, the election of the office bearers there, President Tom DeLisi, immediate past President Andre Demiklis, President-elect David Columbro, Secretary Philip Paraggio, and Treasurer Richard McDonald.
Okay. Okay, good. So those minutes rather have been moved and seconded and by Mark Swain and is carried. So what we will first be doing is we will be voting basically to endorse and to adopt those minutes of the last AGM. Is that correct, Richard?
That's correct, yeah. Both.
Okay. So I will move that. Does anybody have a second?
Just a moment. So we're moving the minutes of the AGM and the extraordinary, or doing it separately, are we?
No,
We're going to do those
together.
separately, Kenneth.
Do them together.
you want to do it? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's cleaner, Richard, if we
Okay.
do it separately. So what we are going to do is we are going to move for the endorsement and adoption of these minutes, which were of the last AGM.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'd like
So
to move that we accept the minutes as a true record of the AGM on the 14th of December, or whatever it was.
Okay, in light of the difficulty of voting over Zoom, I'm going to ask the question: is there any objection to the motion? If there is no objection, then it is considered to have been passed unanimously.
I think Richard had his hand up.
No, that was to vote for it.
Okay.
Okay. That was the vote for it. Okay, that's a little difficult, but there being no objections, it has been carried.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Now we're going to also take the EGM, which was held on the 8th of February. Richard, would you be kind enough to put that up on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
And in a similar fashion, I will be moving and ask for a second that this EGM be endorsed and adopted as true and correct.
I see clarification. So those minutes, only part of it, we're indicating in those minutes that the bylaws were not addressed.
That is correct.
Correct. Very good. Okay.
That is correct.
I'd like
There
to
being no,
accept it.
you will note that it says there being no further meeting. The meeting was concluded at 7 p.m.
Yeah, but they were.
And although this is unsigned, I'm asking that I'm moving that these be adopted as well. Do I have a second?
I'd like to move that they be accepted.
Okay. Are there any objections to the acceptance of these minutes? There being no objections, that they are unanimously passed.
Very good.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will be moving now to item number 3, which is the adoption of the amended bylaws. And before we get to that, I'd like to speak to the reason for these bylaws being amended and presented for adoption. As we have just seen, this was actually considered at the last AGM. And for a number of reasons, we just never got there. But there have been several circumstances in between which have necessitated now a complete redo of our bylaws for a number of reasons. Number one, we have formed our DGR entity to be known as the Rotary Club of King's Cross Benevolent Fund. This DGR entity, which has a ABN number and a TFN number, is currently before the ATO for our certification as a DGR entity, meaning that people who contribute to our projects through our benevolent fund can get a tax deduction for that. And we found out during our last dog show that was a pretty critical factor for some people. So we have taken steps now to form our own DGR. Incidentally, as far as I know, there are 67 clubs in our particular district, and we are one of the 6 that have a DGR. So all I can say is either we're ahead of the curve or everybody else is behind. But at this point, our DGR entity is extremely important. Now, I sent also a copy of the proposed bylaws as well as a side-by-side of the old. Pete, would you be so kind as to put up on the screen the side-by-side?
I think Ray has a question for you, Thomas.
Yes, I'm sorry. Please speak up. I cannot see you on my real estate, so.
Thomas, my question is, we have an ABN number. Does that mean we're obliged to fill in monthly or quarterly returns for the money we get, pay tax on it, and get a rebate on expenses? Is it a full company? When ABN suggests it is, do we have to pay GST on not GST, our monthly taxation on that?
David, could you fill us in from that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Pete,
so
you want,
with a new APN, will require an additional BAS to be filled in.
Mhm.
That is because it's more money coming in, money coming out. It's just ensuring the biggest thing is to ensure that people receive their tax deductible receipts through the trust. I think the plan is, from memory with Tom, that the board that sits with Rotary will be the same board that sits with the trust, which means all the financials will be treated separately but have a combined consolidated balance.
Right, but that means when we're obliged to put a return for all our income, for example, in the amount we pay, any income we come in, we've got to pay tax on it, and we claim back whatever our expenditure is as we don't make any profit. I guess that'll work out all right.
Yeah, and so at the moment we still report all the incoming expenses that we get for the club. It'd just be the same thing but on a separate ledger, but we'll have a consolidation as well. So from a club reporting perspective internally, it'll look like one set of funds, but from a tax office perspective, there'll be two separate ledgers running simultaneously.
Good, thank you.
That's all right.
David, I'm not clear on that. We will say we receive funds which are tax deductible to the giver.
Yep.
How will we then allocate expenses against that? Because they are coming in for a specific purpose. I may be answering my own question.
Mhm.
They're coming in for the dog show.
Yep.
So we would put the dog show expenses against that and do our BAS statement quarterly.
Yeah, so within Xero, we allow tracking. So we'll be able to track any money that comes in for a particular cause, we'll be able to track. And any money that gets paid out, we'll also be able to track against that particular cause. And so when it comes time to report to the tax office doesn't really mind whether it's a dog show or not. They just want to know that the money that's come in has also been paid out. So when we report to the ACNC, which is the governing body that looks after charities, they publicly report how much money's come in and how much money's been paid out.
let me just jump in.
There, Ken.
I'm still not clear on that.
So any money that comes in for the dog show will be recorded under the
Let's work from the donor first. So the donor gives us $5,000 as a sponsor for the dog show in March.
Are they giving it to the King's Cross Rotary Operating or King's Cross Rotary Benevolent Trust?
Benevolent, because they want a tax deduction.
Yep. Okay. So they put it into that.
So that comes in and we receive that on the 1st of February.
Yep.
And then we have the dog show on the 22nd of March or whatever.
Yep.
So in the 30th of June, we'll have to do a BAS statement to count for that donation.
Yep.
And we would only put the expenses against that related to the dog show. We can't put any other Rotary projects against that.
Yep.
Why not?
Huh?
Why not?
Well, Ray's asking, well, because it's not related to that donation.
But all the money coming in, if we've got a club, if the club's got a BAS number and a ABN number, don't we pay tax on everything that comes in?
Excuse me, gentlemen. Let me see. Let me first of all straighten this up real quickly. There were some things that were said that are not exactly correct. The Benevolent Fund will be run by 4 trustees, and I will be covering this later on. Okay, although it is run by 4 trustees as required by law, all disbursements will be made through and with the approval of the club board. Okay, so for all practical purposes, what this is going to do is that all donations are going to be made through our Benevolent Fund, assuming people want tax deductions. Okay, and that Benevolent Fund will be paying out for certain projects and anything related to the donation. The club will not be in the business, so to speak, of actually, it'll be running the projects, but all of the finances will be run through the benevolent fund. Does that, and as for the reporting of this thing, because we are a small benevolent fund defined as under $250,000, we make a report online every year. It's basically a one-page reporting. And if there's ever any question, we have all the documentation with zero and all of our documentation with respect to disbursements. I do not see this being a complicated affair. I don't think it's something that we need to get into tonight. Just suffice it to say that the fund has been formed. We will be getting our DGR designation, and we'll start getting a little bit of experience about how to run it. But the ultimate authority that runs the DGR are the 4 trustees. Those trustees are at present Warwick Nelson, Judith Ward, Richard McDonald, and myself. There are 4 trustees. At this point, the trustees can be basically appointed by either the board or other trustees. It's all in the trust document. Once again, let's not make this too complicated because we're going to be talking about this later. What I want to focus on now is getting the bylaws approved.
Right.
So
Tom, I think Mark's got a question.
Yes, Mark.
Thanks, Thomas, and please excuse my ignorance. If I understand this, is it correct to say that we are now going to be required to do BAS statements, which is a statement of quarterly income or whatever it is, and therefore that we are going to have to pay taxes depending on the balance of, GST or whatever it is. And the idea is that we'll be getting more money to make it worthwhile to pay those taxes, or am I totally off track?
David, you want to speak to that?
So this will be treated in the same way that the club is currently treated, which we're exempt from GST. So any GST that we pay, we get back anyway. And so in terms of the accounting to the tax office will be treated the exact same way it is treated at the moment for the club.
I think the main thing there is just,
So Thomas, you've answered my question, and David has. There is no BAS, no quarterly statement. It's done on an annual basis, and the trustees are responsible through to the board. Thank you.
That is correct.
Does that answer your question, Mark?
Yeah, I think so. I was just wondering if, because of the change in status, whether we actually had a potential tax debt coming because of it.
No.
The answer is no.
No, we are a benevolent. That is a benevolent fund. That is to say, it is a not-for-profit in the same way that our Rotary Club is a public benevolent corporation, meaning that it is not a for-profit corporation. So in effect, we never get taxed. We theoretically never earn a profit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So should we move on to these bylaws now?
Yeah, let's move to the bylaws. I want to just show you. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes. Did someone have a question?
Yes, I do.
Yes, Chris.
It is due to this benevolent fund that we obviously are looking for changes in the bylaws. Shouldn't we all have good insight into what this benevolent fund means and be provided with the trustees in order to be able to really see why we are and what we are voting on?
I'm not quite sure. Is the question you're asking, should we be looking, do you want to look at the actual trust deed? Is that the question you're asking?
Yes.
The trust deed is certainly available. At this point, the trust deed itself has been filed. The entity is formed. These bylaws simply confirm our obligation now for reporting and for having an annual meeting of disbursements and income into the into the benevolent fund. So in a sense, all you're voting on now is just in effect, the changes to the bylaws which are required in order to have the fund formed. The fund has been formed. So in a sense, this is an after action kind of thing. And if you will go down as to the changes which we are asking for, Pete, can you go down to section 13 on the right-hand side? It has to do with, if you will notice, item number 12, article 12. If the DGR endorsement is ever revoked, it talks about the funds that are in the foundation, what happens to them. Article 13, conflicts of interest come about from fair trading. They're the ones that require that in order to form our DGR entity. So it's articles 12 and 13. We're not asking you to in effect vote on the actual entity itself. We're asking you to vote on the addition to the bylaws which are needed to maintain and to forward that entity which has already been formed. Chris, if you want access to the trust deed, I'll be happy to send that on to you. It is a fairly technical document, as the trustees will tell you, but it is a public document and something we can certainly send to you, and I'll be happy to do so.
Well, I reckon it should be accessible by any member.
Absolutely. Anybody that wants to read
I'm
it.
not sure whether it might not even have to be acknowledged by every member. Because it is quite a specialty, it's quite a specialty and changes a bit the operating model.
Mr. President, as I understand it, at the moment we have a certain tax structure which the club's involved in. That tax structure or the effect of the tax structure is not going to change. All this does is let people get a tax deduction for the money they give us. And all this other stuff is the routine necessary to put that into effect.
Yes, that's correct.
That's an excellent summary, Alan, and that is exactly the state of the situation right now. That is correct.
Okay.
And I would, yes. Go ahead, Kenneth.
I'm comfortable that Richard, you, Pete, and whoever the other trustees are.
Yeah, it was Warwick, Judith.
Warwick, and you guys have studied this. So I wouldn't mind hearing from Richard, but I'm comfortable that you guys have done the right thing. And as Alan was just...
I agree with that too.
So that is precisely the point I think that Chris is making. So we, sitting here tonight, before we adopt these bylaws, one needs to decide that, isn't it? That we are happy enough with the trustees that they have gone through the document, whatever it is, on our behalf, to an extent that we're sufficient and we're comfortable with it and trust their judgment.
The trustees are all online now. Could they speak up, please?
Well, I think we should send a copy to Chris so he can look at the trust deed.
Yes, I agree.
I'm just trying to find it. I've got it here somewhere, but I can't find
That
it.
will delay the vote on the rest of it tonight, won't it?
We can vote on this, so it's quite clear.
I want to be clear,
we need 2/3 of people to vote to it tonight. We need 10 out of 15 to say yes to this.
Okay, I agree. Yep.
Yes. Let me say that I, with all due respect, I do not intend to delay the vote of this bylaw.
Fine.
I want to vote of it this evening, and with all due respect, these are procedural things after the fact that our DGR is already formed.
Yeah.
It is already being presented to the ATO for our DGR designation. So this is, in a sense, pure operations, as Alan Stevens has correctly summed it up. And I want to vote on this evening.
So to vote on this, I think what's going to be easiest, if people know Zoom, you can either press the app hands button or just raise your hand. And then Tom, if you want to count the numbers of hands that are raised, we can just motion that.
I don't have a full screen, Pete. I'm asking somebody with a full
Okay.
screen to do that.
Okay.
Can-
So
can
for
you
this
do it,
first,
Pete, the secretary?
so for this
Can you
first
do it?
bylaw, could I grab the screen back, Richard? Or did you?
Yeah, I've just put the trust deed up on the screen if you want it.
Okay. Could we do that offline?
Yep.
So, okay,
Yeah,
all in
offline.
favour of the amended bylaws, please?
Raise your hand.
One,
You could just do it on the
3,
screen.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I can't see Dale, I can't see admin, but we've got 12 out of 15, so that's passed.
Dale's voted
That's
for
good.
it.
Yeah, Dale's voted for
13.
it.
I don't know who admin is. Who's admin?
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Admin, is
thank
that
you.
John?
So these amended bylaws have been considered and moved and have been adopted, and that this meeting will be considered to have been conducted under these amended and approved bylaws. Okay, moving on to item number 4, election of the board. As you are aware, the board consists of both officers and directors. And I'd like to throw open to the floor the possibility of any further nominations from members, either from themselves or for other club members that have not been previously submitted for consideration. Are there any further people out there who would want to either self-nominate or nominate others for the position of members of the board?
So it needs to be officers at the moment.
Thank you. These are the members who have been put up for election. Let me remind you at the beginning that although I have been put up and nominated as the president, now we are talking about the next Rotary year, meaning
Yes.
Rotary year 22-23. And that would mean that the president-elect, Pete, would be taking over approximately 18 months from now. So I just wanted to be able to put the time frame for all of you to consider.
Okay, the classifications are incorrect. We would normally have a past president. So Thomas, you would come up as past president, but you are coming up as president-elect when we're thinking of
Correct,
July
yeah.
1, 2023. Pete would come up as Dr. Pete, president nominee for the following year, July 1, 24.
Mhm.
Secretary, now I don't think you can have 2 officers. Can you be a president nominee and a secretary?
Yeah,
I don't see why not.
yeah, you
There's
can.
no
Okay.
prohibition that I can see.
All
Kenneth,
right.
thank you, Richard,
Okay,
for
well, we just
confirming that.
correct the terminology there.
That's correct. Ken's correct. The president-elect and past
Okay.
president.
So we don't, so you are the past president as well?
Yep.
Yep, that's correct now.
Now, are there any, I'm also throwing this open. Are there any other members that would like to self-nominate themselves as a member of our board as a director?
Thomas, could I make that a little bit more discreet? If people don't want to put their hand up, just PM me in the chat and I'll do that straight away.
Okay. All right, having no further nominees.
You say,
Then I-
Thomas, you got to carry on for another year.
Correct.
I'm
Yes.
going to carry on I've been asked to carry on for another year, Alan. I
Okay.
did not seek it. I was requested.
I'm happy with that. I just want to be sure that that's what I'm interpreting it as.
Yeah,
Unless someone wants to nominate as the president for next year.
I don't.
Well, Warwick's not here, so how about we all vote for Warwick?
Good on
So-
you.
That time Warwick did it again.
There being no further nominations from the floor, then I'm going to ask once again that it be moved and seconded.
Well, any objections probably is.
Are there it?
Mm.
Yes. Are there any objections?
You've
Actually,
got to go through each one. You got to go any
no.
objections to each one.
No. To be fair about it, are the Constitution states that any board officer or director who runs unopposed is considered to be elected.
Very good.
So I am going to invoke that part of our Constitution. I can look it up. I just read it the other day, that there are no objections because they're in effect are considered to have been voted in and to have been elected.
Very good.
They are unopposed.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thomas,
thank you.
Thomas, it is not unique. It is happening in most Rotary clubs.
Oh, David
What's
Yeah.
that?
David Maturo.
Okay.
Yeah,
David
thank you.
Western
Thank you.
Harbour.
I'm having internet connection, so it keeps cutting out. It started recently, so I
Yeah.
need to fix it later. Yeah.
But you're coming up as Western Harbour. We didn't know who Western Harbour
Yeah,
is.
I know. It
You've been hacked, David, have you?
Let me say that I was confusing Western Harbor with Dubai, and this is probably one of the very few AGMs that is actually international. So, John, thank you so much
John's
again
down
for
here,
joining us
yeah.
from Dubai. I want to move on to item number 5, the financial report. And I have asked our club treasurer, David Columbro, to give us a financial overview of the current state of the club finances. Dave, are you able to take over and make your report to us?
Yeah, sure. I'm just going to share my screen. So I think, as everyone's aware, we've moved onto a Xero platform, and so this allows us to run reports significantly quicker and easier. And so what we've done here is, this is our initial dashboard, where we show that we've got 3 main operating accounts, and a Square account, and an account that I'm still working with our outsourced provider on why we've got this $20 here. So at the moment, we've got $13,518 in our operating account. We've got $1,311 in our RAWCS account, and we've got $4,277 in our Harry Lau scholarship account. With that, if I look at the profit and loss for the period of 1 December 2020 to 1 December 2021 on a cash basis, I'm just trying to minimize that, update that. Why is it? It's locked me out of the system. All right, one sec, sorry. There you go.
Someone snoring?
I'm sorry, it's my dog. He's not terribly interested.
I'll try and keep it interesting for him.
Yeah.
Back now and again, please.
So for the 12-month period here, we've got 21,000 of trading income, which is broken up into our charitable, fundraising, member dues, and Rotary grants. Additional revenue from interest of 1,776, with total operating expenses, which is made up of our general operating funds that we transfer to Rotary and our community support groups, come to $23,333. So we're at a deficit of $366. If we run the accounts, because I was having a chat with Tom about this today. So if I run the accounts for July to December, which is the period that as Tom's been president, we've had $13,280 in trading income. And we've paid out, and our expenses come to $17,464. So the breakdown of that is 8% of our expenses have gone to the operating or running of the club. 23% of that has gone to Rotary International and other Rotary expenses, so Rotary magazine. And we've actually paid out 69% of all our expenses have gone to community-related programs. So this includes things like Lou's Place, Prince of Wales Hospital, Wayside Chapel. So we've been quite active in terms of how we've spent our money, ensuring that we promote and include some of our local community groups. Having said that, we do have a few other expenses coming up. Again, community-related projects. So we've got the Plunkett Street School, where we're contributing towards their program down there. And I think that takes us, I think there's a few other things on the board's agenda that we're also looking at contributing towards the end of the year.
David?
Yep.
What's the foreign currency gains and losses?
So that relates to payments that we made to Rotary International because they charge us in USD.
But normally you just convert it to Australian dollars at the Rotary rate when you pay it, whatever the official rate is, and pay it in Australian dollars.
So I do that, but I receive the Rotary International. So if they send us an invoice for $2,000 USD, it goes into zero as 2,000 USD. When I make the payment, it's done on the conversion rate, and then that's the difference between the two.
Okay. All right.
Okay. My only question.
Yep.
Sorry to be butting in all the time.
That's all right.
Okay. One factor, what are the dues outstanding in line with the January-December 1 accounts? What is the outstanding membership dues outstanding? Because we've already paid Rotary International for 33, 36 members, whatever it is. How much do we have outstanding in dues?
$800.
So these accounts would be $800 better if those people had paid.
Yes.
So that must be about four members or something, is it? 3 or 4 members. Okay, can we just note that?
Yep. Yes, Judith.
David, do our membership fees, if everybody pays, cover our Rotary outgoings? So for district fees and Rotary International fees, is the amount that each member pays sufficient to cover those fees?
Yeah, that's a good question. The answer is, yep, they do, but only just. And so I'm currently reviewing that for next year in terms of whether we need to review the current members' dues on that. But I also need to make sure that we're updating the register because there are a number of people where they receive a magazine and are honorary members where we're paying for their portion as well. So that's been discussed as well at the board level.
Another question.
Yep.
You've got the scholarship account.
This is the balance sheet, yeah.
Yeah. And there was 2 scholarship accounts. There was the scholarship account and the Harry Lau account.
So this is one scholarship account. Yeah. And this is the Harry Lau scholarship account.
So that's all the funds that went into Harry Lau and that Rorke's account.
Yep.
So what happened to the original scholarship account?
Which original scholarship account?
Well, there is a King's Cross scholarship account, which is actually run by a trust deed.
Is that this one
King's
here?
Cross scholarship account. And then there was actually the Harry Lau trust account, or Harry Lau account, I think it was called. It was actually a separate account.
The scholarship account is the Harry Lau account.
Yeah, but it's not. What I'm saying is it's not. I mean, you can put it all into one if you wish, but you know the funds to the Harry Lau account was specifically donated to Harry Lau. The scholarship account is sitting there now. It is run by a trustee, but I think we can just about say that trust is finished, and it should be used for any youth stuff which has been done in the past. Any youth RILA and stuff is paid out of the scholarship account, but you probably should just note that you're going to convert the scholarship account and the Harry Lau account into the one scholarship account.
Very good.
Okay, I can take that to the board meeting to do that consolidation.
Yeah. Now there's another thing too.
Yep.
We are now voting here on the 2021 accounts. We should be voting on those accounts from last financial year.
June.
Because that's what this AGM is actually voting on last year. I mean, the AGM's still quite late, but it's
So June to June.
June to
Yeah.
June
June
20
to June.
to 21.
So maybe throw those up. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
It's good to see what we're currently doing. Thank you, David.
Okay. Yes, Judith.
David, the $800 deficit between what we've paid out to Rotary International and the Rotary District 9675, where did that $800 actually come from?
Cash reserves.
Cash reserves, are they donated funds?
Yeah.
Those donated funds should be actually allocated to where they were donated for. We shouldn't just accept donated funds to the club. It should be for a cause and paid to that cause.
Yep. And so
We can't be paying out to Rotary International for fees. What's been donated to the club?
Well,
Because
let me
you can't pay fees with donated funds, is what I'm saying.
Correct.
I agree.
Well,
Agree.
let me speak to that for a second. If you will recall, Judith, the club has always had a balance in there of funds, which this was certainly before my time, but which were generated from the marketplace. And those funds were something which were not donated, they were generated. And those sit as part of our club general assets. Now, what we have simply done is we have simply gapped, lent, if that's the right word, funds to pay Rotary International, which is a liability that we must pay. And it does not matter whether, in my mind, it does not matter the source of those funds at all, because they are recoverable funds from our members. So I don't think the question of the source of the funds is really an appropriate question. I think you have to look at it as the fact that we are paying it out of general funds, many of which were earned by the club. And as David has said, our Rotary obligations more or less track our income. So I don't think the question of where it comes from is really relevant. Let's just say that what we did is we did what we had to do, and we will recover those funds from our club members, and just leave it at that.
Well, could you please tell me what we are doing, what measures we are taking to get those deficit funds in order?
Yeah.
So we've sent out reminder notices through our Xero system. So everyone's received a reminder notice. Dale in particular has worked quite hard in terms of following people up that haven't paid yet either. And so each time she does that, we do get a large number of people paying the outstanding balances. I think Warwick has helped out more recently, but Dale has done a large portion of the heavy lifting, which has been much appreciated.
Yeah, we certainly have. Judith, have been very proactive about contacting the people and dialoguing with them. I mean, it's not like we're leaving this alone, but in a sense, you can only push people and do so much if they don't want to make the payment.
Well,
Yeah,
they
but-
become
we-
unfinancial members and can be
Yeah,
kicked out of
unfinancial
the club.
members. We can't
Yeah.
have that.
Yep. And so that gets brought up each board meeting around how to deal with those members that haven't paid, and at what point do we look at that as an option.
How many of those extend beyond the current year that we're talking about?
Sorry, say that again, Alan.
How many of those outstanding extend beyond this year that we're talking about?
So the current outstanding balance I've got there just relates to the dues for the period of 1 July 2021 and December 2021. So the
Okay.
current
So the 6 months.
for the 6-month period. Yep.
So it doesn't relate to the year we're talking about though, does it?
One
No.
on the screen does.
No, it is a different period. You're right, Alan.
Last year, we're talking about last financial year, not this financial year that we're in.
Yeah.
So Alan's correct.
So
So
I think it's worth noting, but it's not relevant to passing these accounts.
no.
But you need to be a little bit careful in that. How many people is that? $800. That's about 5 unfinancial.
Yeah.
And just have to better make sure that you've got the required quorum, because unfinancial members can't vote.
Yes. Can't vote, no. That's right.
So
Yep.
I hate to put people on the spot, but if there's anyone here that's unfinancial,
Yeah, that's a good one.
we must make sure that we had the required, what was it?
Financial
10,
members.
and
not
I
vote.
think we have, because we've got 15 people here or something. haven't we? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
16 we've got here, plus Dale's at 17. So we're probably right.
Can I ask, purely on the basis of my understanding, only silly question is the one that's not asked. If I understood those figures a moment ago that were shown on the screen, we had a deficit in the 2020 year from June or July to whatever, June, of some $400, 366 or something. In the 6 months that we have from June to December, we currently have a debt of approximately 4,700 or whatever it is. I just wanted to understand, and as I say, it may not be this meeting that's appropriate to answer, but like, is the idea that we basically get back to as close to zero, less our operating expenses on a yearly basis? Or is there a plan to have a certain amount in the kitty, so to speak, as was always, I believe, administered, correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, but the idea that there was always going to be, a certain amount of funds in the...
Well, a Rotary meeting.
As the president, let me see if I can answer that question, Mark. It has always been my intention that at the end of this Rotary year, that we will have back in the club the balance that we had when we started. I think that that deficit that you are talking about is basically $4,111. That 800 of that comes from our non-financial payments. So in a sense, our operating deficit is $3,200, which is roughly equal to the payment that we made to the Prince of Wales Hospital, $5,000 less than $1,960 that we received from district. So I'd like you to look at actually that deficit being the fact that we have not fundraised for the Prince of Wales Hospital yet. And I have forborne doing that until we get our DGR in place. And then it is my intention to have a fundraiser, maybe even more than one, to handle that deficit. So I'm asking, in a sense, to be a little bit patient until I get our DGR entity in place. But I did want you to recognize that that deficit is a combination of non-financials and the payment to the Prince of Wales for their scholarship fund. Is that responsive to your question?
Yeah, I suppose once again, I'm just curious, like, I imagine Richard, under his previous management of the Treasury, we had as far as I'm aware, a fairly consistent amount of funds that was going to prevent the club from going under or whatever. And I just wonder if that continues to be the idea, or whether we are looking to go closer back to zero because of the fact that we're a club that's now a charity and should be giving everything it receives, or as close as possible thereto, back to the community.
So just to clarify, Mark, you're not talking about the profit and loss, you're talking about the bank balances themselves.
Right.
Is that?
Yeah, I believe so. The ones that came up on the screen.
So you're not really talking about the profit and loss and trying to bring that to a nil balance, but more about what's the current board's position around the bank balances and what a healthy position to be in terms of.
Exactly. Which was sort of, if I understand, and jump in please, Richard, was always understood to be having perhaps, more money in there if we continue at this same rate for the first 6 months. Then we'll literally have about 3,000 in the kitty, I assume. And whether or not the intention was to not be so close to zero in terms of our ongoing running of the club.
Well, if I can jump in there, Thomas.
Yeah,
we always had a surplus, and normally we've been running at a deficit on the profit and loss because we really need, we shouldn't be accumulating too much money. Most of the time, the previous boards and previous members have said that we should be spending and not accumulating too much in the way of funds. I think we had about last year, I think there was about 18,000, if I'm right. I was just trying to find last year's accounts, and we ran at a loss, but then we're using up accumulated funds. So we should be actually using up a lot of accumulated funds so that only the scholarship accounts stay in credit. So at the end of the year, you spend most of the money that you have coming in. And that was what we said, but of course we never really did it. We kept it going with a fair surplus most years. Most of that surplus originally coming from, when we were running markets and things like that, and we didn't spend all the funds.
Also, we make a few $100s a week out of our dinner and fines, which we don't get now.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh yeah. Well, this last year it's been, hasn't been a good year.
Richard, if I could respond to what you said, because I think we're on the same page here. What we will be doing, the reason this DGR is so important is that the DGR in effect will be our big contributor, so to speak. We will be running all of our project expenses, fundraising, and disbursements through our benevolent fund. So for all practical purposes, the Rotary Club itself will be more or less self-sustaining in terms of its Rotary obligations and its membership income. I mean, that's the way I see it. If we choose to spend excess funds or accumulated funds out of the Rotary Club, that's another matter. But we will be basically making our benevolent fund the active fundraising, project management, and project disbursement entity that will no longer be with the club.
Should I have a say?
Yes, of course, Alan.
Aren't we approving the accounts as at the end of June this year? And
Yes, correct.
as that has to be approved for the financial year ending June. Then we can talk about what's happened since June, but it's not relevant. We don't have to approve that till the end of this year.
Yes, thank you, Alan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alan, for bringing us back to that point.
Why we're worrying about what's happening this year, because we're talking about last year.
Right.
And it was
Yeah.
about minus $300.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Having said that, David, would you put the financial year that we will be approving? That would be.
Excuse me, President. Bridget's got a question.
Yeah, I just got a question. I didn't see in the expenses that we gave money to St. Vincent's. Just checking, because we had the cinema fundraiser for St. Vincent's in the last financial year. Does it matter that we did not spend the money yet? Have they come back to us to?
They have never come back to us, Bridget. So that should be in the kitty, 2,500 of odd, wasn't it?
It doesn't
matter that it's like doesn't have to be spent in the same financial year as it raised.
No, we should be showing it somewhere there in our balance.
Okay. Good. That's all.
Thank you, Bridget. I'd like to then move and ask for a second that the financial statements which have been discussed on the screen for the Rotary year of 1 July to 30 June 2021 be approved. Do I have a second on that?
I'd second that.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Do I have anyone who is opposed? Thank you very much. It will be considered to have anonymously adopted. Thank you so much. And as to our discussion, it is duly noted that we perhaps this is an item that we will have for discussion on one of our club meetings, because I think this bears a little bit of further discussion, and maybe we will open up one of our board meetings as well. I think we have raised some good topics tonight. Continuing, this is item number 6, as you are aware, the Harry Lau Memorial Awards. We have adopted as part of our bylaws the fact that every year there will be a report as to the income and disbursements from the Harry Lau Memorial Fund. I have asked Mark Swain as part of the awards committee. Mark, your fellow committee members are Ray Aiken. Help me out here. Warwick
and Philip Parascio.
Okay, good. I would appreciate it, Mark, if you would give us just a brief oversight. And once again, I want to congratulate the awards committee for sponsoring the two sisters, which I will get to, for the RILA conference coming up in January of next year.
Thanks, Thomas. Yeah, just for the benefit of all members, as you're aware, we created the Harry Lau Fund in memory of Harry and his legacy to Rotary, and it's to fund youth education in the form of Rotary Leadership, RILA, the National Youth Science Forum, Youth of Enrichment, RIPEN, and the MUNA initiatives. And yeah, I believe we were lucky enough to have some nominations from Dr. Meredith Neary, who brought along Elise and Adele McCall, who are going to attend the next Rotary meeting, RIPEN meeting in January. And you had the pleasure of meeting Elise, I believe, at one of the meetings a couple of weeks ago. We will also be inviting everybody to a fundraising event, which we imagine taking place in the first week at this stage, if we can manage it, of March next year. And that will be to an inaugural celebration of the scholarship itself. It will take place in Harry's Restaurant down there at Walsh Bay, and hopefully it will facilitate a generation of funds which will allow us to secure the continuation of the scholarship into the years to come. So we're all excited about that, and everyone will be receiving formal invitations when we're up and ready with the event. So that's it for a summary. Not sure if anybody has any questions. All righty. So back to you, Thomas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Club members, I just want to say that this Harry Lau Memorial Awards is a great thing for the youth and the young people to give them solid skills, but not only solid skills, but to help them to become oriented to the Rotary experience as young people. And I'm very grateful to the committee, all of you. And Mark, thank you for making that fantastic presentation. And I want to say that our club will be sponsoring in January, the first week in January, 2 members for the 2 sisters. The one that spoke to us, you remember Adele, well, her younger sister, Elise, the 2 sisters will be attending the RILA event, which is going to be put on this year. And I want to thank particularly Richard McDonald for digging up that fantastic video that Paola did 3 years ago that I sent on to district. And the guy, Ben McName, who runs the RILA program at district level, said he was absolutely stunned by how good it was. And what a great tool it is to be able to recruit younger people to this fantastic opportunity. So thank you so much, Harry Lau Memorial Awards Committee, and good work in sponsoring the 2 people, the 2 sisters in January. I'm sure that we'll hear back from them. And any member of the club that would like to go to the closing ceremony, which I can get a date for you, you're certainly welcome to attend. I think Dale and I maybe will be going down, and anybody else that would like to come along is more than welcome.
9th of January, Sunday the 9th of January.
Say that again, Kenneth.
Sunday the 9th of January it is.
Yes.
It's the function at lunchtime, and it's at Stanwell Tops, and the delegates go.
Sorry, Ken. It's not at Stanwell Tops, is it?
Yes, the Stanwell Tops this year.
Oh, is it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And it's from the 3rd to the 9th of January, Monday the 3rd till Sunday the 9th. So any members are invited down to the dinner. You have to RSVP so you can get some food and pay for your food. But we do need to provide the 2 girls transport down and back.
Yes, thank you for reminding me about that, Kenneth. We'll make some transport arrangements for that. Yes, Ray. Okay.
I just wanted to report on the Lou's place. We put the paintings up, and I spoke to them about it's going along, but they are fairly busy with people, so we can postpone that and make it officially in a week or 2. It doesn't matter. The paintings are up. They like them, and we'll be able to have somebody from here go along, be photographed for our magazine or something. So they suggest a couple of weeks we'd better off, and maybe it'll go over till next year. It doesn't matter much because the donation's there and they like them.
Good.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Ray, thank you for being, and to the Wentworth Galleries for being generous in providing those and making the arrangements to actually have them hung. So I think that's great. You know, even day shelters need a little bit of art, and and beauty. So thanks for bringing it to people who don't ordinarily see it, Ray.
Can I just make a point to the members who don't know what we did? We presented some limited edition prints from Elizabeth Durack. They are she's worked with Aboriginal people all of her life. The prints have the stories on them, and the people from Lewes were especially interested in something that would affect Aboriginal people because they have a lot more Aboriginal people needing assistance there. So it's the right thing for them. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Great. Great. Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. I'd like now to move on to item number 7, an annual meeting and report of the Rotary Club of King's Cross Benevolent Fund. I put this item in there because from every year hereafter, as part of our statutory requirement of the Benevolent Fund, we're required to have an AGM in which it doesn't have to be, as I read it, an actual AGM, but it has to be a report of the actual disbursements and what the funds were used for. Now, what I've laid out and what I've provided for you is just some of the fact that the funds are a not-for-profit entity. There are 4 trustees: Warwick Nelson, Judith Ward, Richard McDonald, and myself. And the annual meeting now of the Benevolent Fund will become part of our annual club AGM. In other words, we will run the two right on top of each other so that the report that is required for a Benevolent Fund will also be given to the club during the AGM. So it's a good way to do it, and we will start incorporating that now in future years. Do I have any further questions about that? Any comments?
That's straightforward.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Listen, we're running a little bit over in time. Current state of the club. I simply want to say that we have now, I intended to talk about our strategic plan and some of the things that we've done. Let me cover it real short. We, in the first 6 months, have done 7 community-oriented projects, and actually there is an 8th, and I want to give kudos to Inez Benecki, who today arranged for, she just sent me an email, a delivery to all of the homes that normally we would have invited to our Christmas dinner, but in lieu thereof, we have sent a hamper and other goodies to them, which Inez just contacted me about 20 minutes before and said that they have all been delivered today. And that would give us a total of 7 projects that we have done this year, of which I have elaborated in our newsletter. And 2 things that we did not mention in that newsletter was our contribution, or our club contribution to the Prince of Wales Spinal Recovery Unit, which was funded 40% by a generous donation from the district, a district grant. And it does not cover, which we have talked about at length here, the fact that in January, our club will be sponsoring 2 young candidates for RILA. So we're continuing to step out into the community, doing service projects. I'm really happy about the direction that we're going. There's some things that we can do much better. We're going to focus, hopefully, in the new year on much better communication. We're still working that out. I want to also remind you that we will be having our signature dog show on the 20th of March. So that's going to require a club-wide effort and collaboration and contribution of time and effort to get that off the ground. But hopefully after our initial dog show, this one will go much smoother. So I wanted to thank all of the people, and a special kudo to Inez for taking the initiative of seeing the need and seeing the project through, completing it, getting it done. And once again, we're very grateful for that kind of effort. Before we sign off, I want to say, before we get to the four-way test, I want to welcome back Bridget from Germany. It is also Bridget's birthday next week, so we want to wish her a happy birthday. I want to also remind our club members of our Christmas party coming up. We have sent you invitations. It is imperative that you sign up and buy your ticket by this Thursday so that we can notify the Holiday Inn of exactly the number of people that we need. The Holiday Inn requires COVID passports, and I'm hoping that all club members will make a special effort to get together for our Christmas party. We haven't seen each other in person now for a year and a half. So let's see if we can make this Christmas party a really festive event. I will be making sure that the invitations go out tomorrow again and again on Wednesday, so that there's ample opportunity to be able to sign up for tickets. If for whatever reason, circumstances change, whatever is paid in will be fully refundable. So are there any questions out there about the Christmas party and our intentions?
Please register.
Yes.
Yeah, please register. Yes, please register.
We only have 11 people at this point.
11 people at this point. Yeah, we can do better than that. I can also say that it is not only for club members, but certainly for guests. Bring along your partner, your wife, your children, anyone who might have an interest in the club. It's a great chance for us to get together. Okay, before we get to the four-way,
just
yes,
for the launch of next year, Keith Suter is confirmed for our kickoff dinner on the Monday, 27th of January, after Australia Day. So Keith is confirmed, and we would intend to have that at the Holiday Inn at this stage, all things remaining the same. The Inner West Club will be coming, and the Marrickville Club will be coming as well. So that's normally a very big affair. So again, we'll need RSVPs in mid-January for that. So please keep that in your diary for the new year.
Ken, can I just confirm that date, please?
27th, Monday, 27th January.
2022, Monday, it's a Thursday.
No, 27 January. I'm looking at my diary.
It's a Thursday.
Australia Day. So
it's Thursday.
Well, let me just check. I'm sorry.
I think it's the 31st.
Okay. Okay. My apologies. You are. Thank you, Richard. 31st of January.
31st. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
it might actually be an opportunity to circulate that information with all the, I think is it still Group A, or at least the Sydney clubs?
Do you want everyone to be invited to that?
Yes.
Well, I think it might actually be a great opportunity to get a fantastic speaker and a lot of interested audience.
Yeah, right. Well, we do that through the district secretary, correct?
Well, all the relevant presidents, secretaries of this special group that Rick Vosseler is AG of.
Okay.
We normally do a co-meeting with the Inner West Club, don't we?
Inner West and Marrickville normally come.
Marrickville, yeah.
And then we've had up to, we've had up to over 40 at some stage with those.
Yeah. Well, but Chris has a good point. I mean, we've got a really interesting speaker. Why should we not be putting this out to our
happy
at least the 6 clubs that Rick oversees?
Yeah.
I mean,
Happy
Yeah.
to invite any Rotarian,
Yeah.
and you can
Yeah.
do that yourself as well.
Yeah.
So Chris,
Yeah.
you can do it on your network as well. We can all do that, but we will do it through the official channels as well.
Judith wanting to speak?
Judith.
Yeah.
Unmute
Okay.
yourself,
You,
Judith.
Unmute.
Microphone, Judith.
What is the question?
I'm
Yeah,
trying to
do
unmute.
That's
I
fine.
am unmuted. Are we limited to how many we can have at the holiday in January?
Dale, what would you say to that?
I'd say that 60
We
or
have booked for the 31st, Ken, the largest room they have, which I think is the Banksia. Once again, it will depend on social distancing if there's any, but I think they can take, I don't know, well over 40 people in that room.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Dale.
Okay.
Hello. I'm just
Having said that, this will be the last club meeting that we will have until the Monday, the 31st of January. Gee, it's 2 months. That's almost inconceivable. Anyhow,
We have.
so I want
Dale's wanting to say something.
yeah, okay, Dale.
I had a call, I'm just sharing this with you confidentially, from Elaine Southwell-Keeley today. We've kept in touch, for quite a while, and she wanted to let me know that Tim isn't very well at the moment, and she's been sitting with him, and his daughter and his little great-grandson came round today to see him, which was very joyful. Apparently he hasn't been out of his bed for around 7-8 days. He's on a lot of painkillers. So I would ask those of you who would like to remember him in your prayers and to wish him as much, joy with his family, and also Elaine as well. I said we send our love and support for her also. So that would be wonderful if you would do that. And let's hope he gets through this okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dale. Do I have any other comments out there? Okay, so before we take the four-way test, I want to say thank you to each one of you. I want to say thank you to my support team and to the entire club for the support that you have rendered to me during these first 6 months of the Rotary year. We've got our feet underneath us. We've got a lot to do, but more importantly, I've really enjoyed the experience, and I think that all of us have really displayed the epitome of service above self and have kept up the rate of our community participation. Being out there in the community and being community-minded, service to the community is what it's all about. And I'm very grateful that we haven't let up one bit during this very trying time. So I want to wish each of you a very wonderful Christmas, New Year's, and holiday season. And I'm hoping to see each one of you in person at our Christmas party in 1 week. Does anybody else want to say anything before we sign off this evening? Okay.
Thank you.
There you are. Good. There is the four-way test. Judith, as a long, probably the one of, no, Alan, as the longest serving Rotarian, would you be
Alan.
kind enough? Would you be
Lead it.
kind enough to lead us in the four-way test tonight? If you will recite the four-way test and then just pause, we will all say it after you.
Okay.
Is that okay? Is
That's
that
okay.
okay?
Yeah. Okay. Is it the truth?
Is
Is
it
it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it
fair
To
to
all
all concerned?
Concerned.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it
build
build
goodwill
and
and
better
better
friendships?
Friendships.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be
Will it
Will it be
beneficial?
beneficial
concern.
concern?
To Rotary,
Concern.
to Rotary,
Rotary,
Australia
Yeah,
The
and
Queen.
the Queen.
and the Queen.
thank you, everyone.
Merry
Thank
Christmas.
thank you so much, everybody. I hope this has been
To all of
an,
you.
I hope this has been an AGM that we will remember as not being,
Judith,
not as being a drag.
Judith,
We had some fun.
I'll go,
Judith wants to
Good.
speak.
Bye, everybody.
I'll go and
Bye-bye.
feed my dog
Bye,
now.
Alan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Judith not speaking.
Bye-bye.